Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
Welcome back. Today's podcast is called Success in Real Estate. It's up to you. So we have some great points for you today. And remember, all of our notes, all of our points are available for you with immediate download if you go to Harris Real Estate Daily. That is our exclusive newsletter. It is a free newsletter. And all you've got to do is subscribe. And to subscribe, just drop in your email address and then pop over to your main email and then confirm you want the subscription. You will not only get our notes from that day's podcast, but you'll also get the podcast itself. And a lot of exclusive content. For example, Julie and I are working on a long-form outline for tariffs, specifically about tariffs. That's the topic du jour, and it's going to stay the topic du jour for a long period of time. And unlike yesterday, we're going to fight not to basically ramble on about tariffs when we said we wouldn't.
Yes, it's a prequel, not the show.
Julie's giving me a look. She wants me to shut up immediately. Well, it's because we've been learning so much as we've been digging into this whole tariff thing. Because everything else in life nowadays has become politicized. But when you actually look into the numbers of it and, use your old friend ChatGPT, it is astonishing how much the whole tariff equation is screwed up in favor of other countries. It's crazy how much U.S. goods are being tariffed, when they're being exported and imported into other countries. All these things that are just, when you look at them on the surface, you wonder, what the heck is going on? How can this actually be true? And then you dig into even more into it. And again, I'm not going to talk much more about it. You have to read the white paper about this that I'm writing, but it's very fascinating. And I will say this, we're not doing this research on tariffs. We're obviously bending it towards real estate folks, but we're not doing it with a particular outcome in mind. We're looking for a reason. We're just reporting on it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to give you guys all the facts, and we're going to peel back all the layers of the talking points from the, various political factions that are pro or against. And we'll leave it up to you to make your own decisions. But from the research I've done so far, collectively over time, and the over time part's going to be the part that sucks, frankly, because over time is going to be years, the net gain to the United States could be extraordinary as job creation and all these things start to happen. But again, we'll give you the facts, you make the decision, and that is going to be coming to you in Harris Real Estate Daily. So make sure you subscribe to that newsletter, harrisrealestatedaily.com.
Yes, that's right. And it is taking some research and some investigation on our part. And I look forward to bringing them that podcast about tariffs. And I would caution everyone because this is it's an old concept because it has been done before, but it's a new concept for our modern era. So be careful as you're learning, as we're learning, what you're listening to, what you're reading, because a lot of people are opinionated on it. I'm not sure everybody is as educated on it. So one of the things that I do before we do a podcast, as you do, is we do a lot of research. I'm using whitehouse.gov for the actual mandate and the actual language because it does have lots of facts and terminology and historical basis. So I would caution all of you and give you a little bit of homework yourselves in a prequel to listening to that there is going to be a lot to it.
I had an interesting conversation with someone that Julie and I have known for forever. We knew her in high school, and this was on Facebook, and she was explaining to me how the tariffs are going to cause it's like a hidden tax, and kind of technically she's right. It is a tax basically, but it's a voluntary tax, which kind of makes it's something you can avoid by not buying things that are being tariffed. But she was very resolute that the amount of goods that the U.S. consumers use between finished and unfinished goods was like almost 100% imported. And I thought, well, that was interesting because I never actually done the research on unfinished goods. So unfinished good would be like lumber, right? Finished good would be like a car that was assembled, right? And so I did some homework on that. And it turns out and again, I'm going to conflate these numbers, but I think 25% of all consumer goods are finished and unfinished imported goods. I think I got that right. 25%, and only 15.9%, I'm pretty sure I got that one right, of all finished goods are imported. Now, isn't that crazy? So 25% of all the stuff that's brought into the United States, 25% is imported, and that goes to make things, and that also goes to basically its finished product, arrives at your door. and of that 15.9%. So it's not 25% plus 15.9%. So 15.9% of the 25% is actually finished goods. Isn't that a hell of a lot less than what you thought it was for me?
Yep.
And that's can easily, like, if, for example, you're thinking about buying a car, and here we are saying we wouldn't talk about tariffs, by the way. If you're thinking about buying a car and all of a sudden the price goes up by whatever it's going to go up by, buy a different car. I mean, you can. That's the power of tariffs from a consumer perspective. You can change your buying behavior. But anyway, so I'm going to stop myself because I find this topic very fascinating.
It is.
Because the ramifications, and it makes me really, truly wonder what the hell I'm missing, because it seems like such a clever way to essentially maybe even get rid of the income tax, as Trump has suggested, or at least part of it, but also to solve a lot of the sort of the political have and have-nots conversation, all these other things that have sort of become ingrained, tax the rich and all the rest of it. Well, a tariff kind of solves a lot of those problems if you think culturally. So years from now, we could have completely different conversations that might help to, again, further unify the country. But I'm being maybe possibly too optimistic. So let's go back to our topic.
Yes. All right. So we're talking about success in real estate. It's up to you, getting you into control. Stress in life and real estate stems from a lack of control. You can't control the inventory, the interest rates, or sales velocity, so what can you control? Today we'll talk about how to make money consistently even if the market isn't super red hot, even when things seem slower than you'd like. Maybe there's a blizzard in your town, for example, especially when you're frustrated, bored with the grind, or just plain stuck. Not that any of those things ever happen, right?
And obviously we've been, paying attention to what you guys are feeling. And as we've been letting you know every single day, a lot of you are already starting out your years, going to have some of your, a lot of you are going to have your best years ever. There's no doubt. But some of you feel like there's if you've been in the business for a while, you're feeling like this is a strange start to the year. Well, it's because it is. Mm-hmm. And so it's not you, it's the market, but you can't make it so that it's you. So this is the reason that Julie wrote this show. So you guys can essentially, acknowledge the fact that maybe the challenges of the start of this year were a little unusual, but who cares? You're just gonna have to work a little bit harder, in some cases a lot harder, to get back on track, and until the momentum starts going in your favor again. That's what today's show is all about.
That's right. And as usual, we start with adjusting the mindset, right? So this is something you reminded me of on our walk yesterday. There's a saying that goes like this: hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Now, this saying is attributed to G. Michael Hopf, and he was a writer. He wrote a post-apocalyptic novel called Those Who Remain. But this is really very often quoted. And since I'm reading quotes and we have points, remind them how to get their notes.
I already did.
Oh, you did. That's right.
Yes.
Okay, so they don't have to write down every word, right? Okay, so hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Now, this short and often quoted saying shows that there are cycles we all have to deal with, whether economic, financial, emotional, or otherwise.
Like personal cycles, not just macro cycles. A macro cycle is the economy. A micro cycle is what's actually going on inside your own head.
There you go. Well put. Sometimes the cycle is short, a few weeks or months, and if it's in your own head, maybe a few minutes or hours. And sometimes it's longer, years or decades. When we have good times, everything seems to be easy. Remember when houses used to sell themselves overnight with multiple offers every time? Remember when everyone had to transact immediately out of FOMO or fear of missing out? Well, here's a question to consider. Maybe not if you just got freshly licensed, but for the rest of you.
So the point is, Julie, is when the easy times basically make it so that people have maybe unrealistic expectations of what the future is going to hold, and they haven't fortified themselves in their skill set, in their financial situations, in their emotional situations. They haven't built figurative moats around themselves so that when the hard times come, when the zombies come over the hill, they're actually prepared for it. That's the essence of what we're saying.
Yes, that's right. Because when you're in the moment of the easy times, don't you want it to last forever? And you want to do everything you can to enjoy and exacerbate those easy times, so your mind isn't really on building the moats, is it?
So the people that essentially the greatest fortunes of humanity, men and women, have always been made during the greatest times of change. Whether we're in one of these greatest times of change periods now or not, history will prove. But the reality of it is that we probably are. And so if everyone else is operating under this we'll wait and see mode, which is what I feel a lot in the economy right now, we'll wait and see what happens here, what happens there. When everyone else is in the wait and see mode, especially your competition, you've got to get into the hyperactive. Just put your head down, get work done, master the art and science of doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. That way, when the easy times come back around where everyone's starting to look good, you've already got such massive momentum. You're already operating at a completely different plane. That's the key. So when it's easy, everyone looks good. When it's hard, you're going to see that, the true talent and the drive rises to the top. We are in one of those phases now, but we're definitely going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And Julie and I are, predicting that it's going to be towards the end of this year.
Yes, or hopefully even sooner. So did the good times maybe make you weak or make you weak some of the time because your expectations became unrealistic, as Tim was just talking about? Don't be weak, be strong, even in slower times, maybe especially in slower times. And we're going to talk about how specifically on today's show. So point number 1, accept the fact that there are different cycles. Commit to being successful because of your actions, not because of market trends. If it's meant to be, it's up to me, meaning you, should be your only saying to yourself. Your success should not hinge on any of the following. And I could make a longer list, but here's the ones that come to mind.
Let me just throw this in there, Julie.
Yes.
Unlike what everyone else on planet Earth sells pretty much, aside from, say, water and energy and toilet paper, you guys are selling something that everybody needs, like those have to have products. Not everybody needs a new car. Not everybody needs a new computer. Not everybody needs another pair of shoes or another purse, right? But everybody needs a place to live. So you are selling something that everyone's going to buy no matter what's going on in the macro economy and what's going on with interest rates, what's going on with politics. There's still transactions that are going to happen. And it feels like there's going to be in the mid 4 millions this year as far as resale homes. And there could be around, what were we saying, another million in new construction?
Yes.
So there's going to be a lot of transactions. Remember, in the United States, every one of those transactions generally has 2 commissions that are going to be associated with that sale. So you're talking about 10 million plus agents getting paid, and the average sale price is $400,000. If the average commission on each side is, say, $10,000, you guys could do the math. There's a lot of money to be made, even in what definitely is feeling like, hopefully, the end of a hard time cycle.
Yes, absolutely. And refer to yesterday's show because we talked about how normal people are transacting. Okay, so if it's meant to be, it's up to me should be your only saying. Your success cannot hinge on mortgage rates, on inventory levels, who's president, or how you feel about it. If you feel like working today or not, if the market's hot or not, what you heard, read, or saw this morning that put you in a bad mood, or if you think that you're too old, too young, too fat, too thin, too smart, or not smart enough for this business. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. Remember, your success is based on your actions, not on any of this other stuff.
In my opinion, the most important point that she made, little sub-points that she made that were really important, and you guys, and just think about this, okay? Are you only working at the highest level and getting results when you feel a certain way? Well, the problem is that you don't feel that particular way very often, especially if you haven't gotten enough sleep or all these other sort of, physiological things going on with your body. So if you're only working and only getting results when you feel a certain way, you're not going to get results very consistently, are you? That's the art and the science again. And I don't mean to, I say this probably too frequently, but it's definitely true. When you do what you don't want to do, when you don't want to do it at the highest level, do what you don't want to do. Make a list right now of the things that you don't want to do in real estate. I'm pretty much guarantee you they're all going to have to do with proactive lead generation. The next question is very easy. When you don't want to do it, that would be for the most of you anytime, right?
All the time.
And at the highest level, that's the tricky part. So the tricky part is actually doing it with the intent of accomplishing, setting a pre-qualified appointment, listing appointment ideally. You guys get it? So those 3 things together, you do no matter how you feel. No matter what else is going on in the world, no matter what the news headline was, no matter what Elon Musk said on X, blah, blah, blah. You do those things every single day, no matter what, and no matter how you feel. The feel thing is totally, only working at a high level when you feel a certain way. Where does that lead you? Is there any positive outcome for that? That's what essentially leads to hard times, right?
Yep, that's
when
right.
Julie was going back to the saying, right? That's what leads to hard times. That's what essentially makes people soft. Too much focus on your feelings, too much focus on, all these other external things. And you have to, me time and all these little things that people, no, I want you to imagine that zombie apocalypse is here and hard times are here. how ready are you mentally and emotionally for that? Now, I'm not saying you can operate at that sort of peak level all the time, but if you did it for a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour a day, how much better would your life be? You know, if you guys are thinking about going to the gym and you're just going to sort of walk around and walk and talk, there's a lot of walk and talkers at the gym every day, right? Yeah. Or are you going to go there actually to the point of raising your heart rate and actually go to the point of, trying to put in a real effort while you're working out? The accumulation of doing that, even when you don't feel like it, is profound after a day, but certainly after a year. That is true with everything in your life, but you're never going to experience it if you're only trying to get results when you feel a certain way.
This is a very good segue into point number 2, which is accept that success results from consistent and dollar productive actions, probably the things that Tim put on your list that you didn't feel like doing today, not from stringing together random wins. You can control your consistent action, but you can't control random wins. Run your business on systems and strategies, not on luck and hopium. Consistency compounds, occasional brilliance fades. For example, and Tim just was talking about this, know your numbers and work them to your advantage. If you know that every time you speak with 10 expired sellers, you set 2 listing appointments, well, you're in control of your success. Most agents wait for something to appear in their voicemail or run into somebody who might need an agent. But that's not a plan. That's not consistent effort.
But also know, you can make consistent effort making, TikTok videos or making YouTube videos. That does require effort. That does require time. So when you're choosing what we are going to put your consistent effort towards, you got to have some minimum standards, some rules for yourself, and I'll give them to you right now. You have to be spending your time every single day. If you know you've done, and I know your next point, Julie, if you have to complete your real estate treasure map, which Julie's about to talk about, having a plan, and your real estate treasure map calls for you to have 3 listings at all times, or 5 or 10 or whatever your number is. And everyone's going to have a different number depending on what their overall financial situation is. Whatever that number is, that is what you have to do every single day. Again, no matter what you feel like, how you feel. And when you build your life around making that certain number of contacts every single day, now who do you contact? Obviously people who have their hands in the air right now saying, yes, I want to sell my house. So in our opinion, there's work and then there's work theater. Work theater is everything else other than having direct conversations with decision-making adults about ideally selling their home and obviously working with potential buyers. But if you're not having direct conversations with people who are actively trying to sell their homes now, expired for sale by owners, there's 20 different sources we teach you in Premier Coaching. You have to be really hard on yourself and say, I'm just doing work theater. Doing a bunch of TikTok videos or Instagram videos or all those other things, it is, frankly, work theater, and it's not going to get you consistent results. You already know that if you talk with 10 expireds today, you probably will trip over at least 2 or 3 that you can get the listing for if you actually made the call, knew what to say and how to say it. Doesn't that make sense? It does.
Yes, so the filter that you run things through when you're talking to them about work theater versus real work of real estate is if you're having that direct conversation.
Well, that is going to put it like if you make a bunch of, Instagram, whatever, social media content, let's just say, is it going to absolutely 100% lock in, no questions asked, a commission check in the next, say, 90 days or less? It's not, and you know it's not. And same goes with anything that's marketing and branding. But if you call expireds and you talk to, say, for example, Julie, her example, 10 expireds a day, there is virtually a 0.00 chance you won't at least 1 or 2 or 10 transactions as a result of that. And yet, why do you choose to do work theater versus the real work? Because the real work requires you know what to say and how to say it. Real work requires that you're going to have a little bit of maybe you're going to have to get over your fear of picking up the phone or the fear of having conversations where people could say no to you, all those things. But you got to move past the work theater if you actually want to be of service to people and make money.
Very well put. All right, number 3. You mentioned this. Have a business plan and follow it. Get involved in Premier Coaching and follow the appropriate plan for you. Now, we have the Real Estate Treasure Map. That's your step-by-step personal and business plan. Very robust, lots of pieces and parts to that. We also have the survival plan. If you're in panic mode and you literally aren't sure if you're going to be in business next month or next quarter, we have the 90-day massive action plan. It's not enough to just have the plan. You have to do the plan. And that's where coaching comes in.
And you can join Premier Coaching right now 100% for free. Just scroll down below, click the link to join Premier Coaching, or just go to premiercoaching.com. And yes, that includes everything we're talking about today that you receive in level 1. In addition to that, you receive a daily semi-private coaching call with one of our Harris certified coaches.
Okay, so back to our notes here, guys. Remember, we're talking about getting you in control no matter what's happening in your market and no matter how you feel. Point number 4, stop waiting and start leading. Remember, you're saying, I'm a doer, I do things now, I get things done. Use this saying in your business and your personal life, and you will find that procrastinating is impossible. Examples of this. Again, the point, stop waiting, start leading. Don't wait for a prospect to call you back. Don't wait for the other agent to resolve a transaction issue. Don't wait for your past clients to call you when they're ready. How many times have we heard that? They'll call when they're ready. Don't wait for your buyer clients to find a house they want to see. Waiting isn't profitable. Taking action is. So move faster.
Yeah, but how about this? Don't wait to actually, the new expireds that showed up in your system today. And by the way, the system will suggest you guys use for finding expired phone numbers as RedX, and we've got a little arrangement where you get a $150 discount. They waive basically all your setup fees. And what RedX does is it goes into your MLS every single day, searches out the new expired listings, finds phone numbers, and you get sometimes a lot of phone numbers, cell phone numbers and everything. That, by the way, in case you're curious, is extremely expensive. That's where all the money goes, when you're one of these list service companies, is they have to buy that data. They don't actually already have it. So anyway, then RedX feeds back to you not just the new expired, but also all the contact information for that seller. And then you call them. That's it. That's the whole process. And use our scripts. So text the word RED, R-E-D, to 47372. Text the word RED, R-E-D, to 47372. And we'll text you back a link to join, to basically subscribe to RedX, and it saves you $150 right out of the gates. So text the word RED, R-E-D, to 47372.
Yes, and you've just removed their biggest objection. I can't find phone numbers. Now you don't have that problem.
And some of you guys, look, if you're saying, well, I don't need to get them from RedX, or there's a couple other services, but RedX is the one we have been aligned with the longest, and you're saying, well, I'll just look them up myself, you're really not serious about going after expireds, because the amount of time you're going to have to take to go, and money you're going to have to spend to find phone numbers, it just tells me that you're not serious. It should tell you you're not serious.
You'd be doing it if you were going to.
Well, but that's what a lot of them will do. A lot of them will say, well, there's 5 expireds, and I'm going to research every single one, decide which one I want to call. I'm going to do spreadsheets on every one. Then I'm going to find phone numbers, or I'm going to have a VA find phone numbers. Why the hell are you doing that? Just get the list of the expireds, get the phone numbers, use our script and start calling them, and stop analyzing. Set the appointment, pre-qualify the seller, send the pre-listing pack, follow a 7-step listing process. Are you actually doing the real work of real estate? Or are you doing real estate, theater? That's the question all of you need to face down, especially this time of year.
Yeah, I think, we're talking about don't wait. Analysis paralysis is part of the waiting thing, right? Because they use that as an excuse. I can't find phone number.
Well, look, procrastination is nothing other than a fancy, elaborate, sort of almost therapeutic sounding excuse for being
lazy.
That's it.
Sorry,
okay,
guys.
That's it. That's all it is. Lazy to overcome your fears. Lazy to learn the scripts. Lazy to actually learn how to do the real work. Lazy. You're just procrastinating the inevitable. But it might not be inevitable for you, because you might procrastinate so long you're going to fail out of real estate.
Well, cut that out. Do what we see on the
podcast.
podcast.
Bad you.
Bad. All right, number 5. Oh, if they didn't like that one, they won't like this one. Make more contact. Successful agents have more conversations more frequently. You can't sell real estate without talking to people who want to transact. If you have not realized your desired income, it's only for one reason, and that's because you're not talking with enough people who actually need your help. Now, this sounds a lot like the last point. However, there's 3 little flavors to this. And I have a lot, especially our newer coaching clients will say, you know what? I am over picking up the phone. I'll pick up the phone. I'm not afraid to call anybody, okay? Pay attention to these 3 little mini points. Here's the first one. If you're talking with tons of people, but none of them are panning out, either they're not leads at all, or you think they're leads, but they're not doing appointments with you, you may be talking to the wrong source or perceived source of leads. Think about circle prospecting, social media leads. It's a non-targeted approach. You may be making lots of calls, but you're not talking to people who actually need your help. So that's one flavor that we help you with in coaching. Second thing, you might actually be confused about the definition of a lead versus a contact. And we talk about that virtually on every podcast. And the third flavor is, if you are talking to the most likely to transact folks, like for sale by owners, expireds, probates, builders, open house leads, etc., but don't have enough leads or appointments, You might just be ineffective with your conversations and need help with scripts and coaching.
By the way, a contact versus a lead, Julie went over that quickly, but it's really important. I'll do this, succinctly. Is a contact is what most of the industry calls a lead. A contact is just essentially a person's phone number and their address, maybe their phone number, email address, nothing. You have no real information on the actual motivation of that particular, let's say, seller. A lead, okay, which is what, essentially a higher standard. Starts out as a contact, but you know what their motivation is. You fully pre-qualified them. That's what we teach you to do in Premier Coaching. So those of you who have dozens of what you're calling leads, you don't. You have dozens and dozens of contacts. So your homework from today's podcast, I'll humbly suggest, is to get our pre-qualifying script and call every single one of them, ask all the questions, know exactly what's going on, and then you can quickly decide whether that's indeed somebody who will ever transact. And what you'll discover is for every 100, leads that you have, and by your definition, you're going to discover that 90 of them were merely contacts that don't even remember that they contacted you in the first place, have no idea why you're sending them crap in the email, the whole thing. So make sure you pick up the phone and you fully pre-qualify them. Wouldn't you rather have 10 rock star locked in, committed to you exclusively, absolutely fully pre-qualified, leads, seller leads in particular, than just a whole crap ton of contacts? Well, you would naturally, but most of you don't chase. You're trying to build these big, impressive lists so you can show up at your meetups with your other real estate agent friends and brag about how many leads you have in your database and show everyone your fancy dashboard and how everyone's getting dripped on, all that, right? How's that working out for you, right? Look to see the people that actually transacted with you last year, and you'll see that virtually none of them, probably none of them, came from those big elaborate CRMs and drip campaigns. You know what? You can stop doing them. You can, and just focus on having pre-qualified conversations that lead to you pre-qualifying that person that you're talking to. And then the agent who has the fewest number of pre-qualified motivated leads is the one that always makes the most money, not the agent with the most, air quoting here, what you guys call leads, which are really contacts. Hopefully I explained that well.
You did, and I just have to give a little nudge and shout out to new elite coaching client Dion in Los Angeles, because guess what her homework was?
Uh-oh.
On one of our first calls, we discovered that she has what could be a great collection of leads, but she's going to do the homework you just described using the pre-qualification scripts and going for appointments, not just calling them contacts with good notes. She has what we think might be as many as 17 real buyers. However, ... After questioning them using the pre-qualification scripts, it's okay, and I'm giving you, Dion, permission that maybe that list is less than half of, quote, real prospects who are actually going to transact with you. So that was your homework this week.
But most importantly, there are a lot of expireds in Las Vegas.
100%. Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles. Oh, well, in Los Angeles too. Mm-hmm. And what she should be doing with those energies that she's using to chase those buyers is definitely go after the sellers. Because here's the thing. You already kind of know, like think about an expired seller. You know the seller has to sell, or at least, probably has to sell, probably isn't a want to sell. You know what the price isn't because it expired. I mean, frankly, the price might not be an issue depending on the market. You know all kinds of things. You know that we know that 90% of all expireds, is that they're going to sell that house. All these things that you will have immediately going for you when you make a call to that expired. All these, facts that you then can apply to that conversation. And we've already done all that work for you in our pre-qualifying scripts.
100%. And Dion just texted me before our podcast, and guess which script she's looking at? The expireds, all right?
And by the way, Julie is interested in having 3 new elite coaching clients. And I appreciate the fact that you guys are respecting our warning. Julie is A, picky, and B, expensive. So if you're interested in being coached directly by Julie, our head coach at our coaching organization, she is interested in having 3 clients, and the filter is very simple. Just text me directly, 512-758-0206, and let me know in the text about your background. And probably if you're a new agent, probably isn't a great fit for you. It just depends on a whole bunch of other factors. But really, at the end of the day, this is most of Julie's coaching clients are agents that are very much on the ascension or have arrived but ready to go to the next level. She also has some interesting group of agents that she's personally coaching that have been in the business for a long time that are multi-millionaires and they're looking to exit. Those are kind of fun calls too. She tells me about all those as well. So please, if you're interested in being coached by Julie Harris directly, text me directly at 512-758-0206.
All right, so our final point today about getting you back into control. Number 6, don't reinvent the wheel or try to get creative. And this is sometimes with newer agents, but a lot of more grizzled veterans that are just in the boredom thing, repetitious boredom, and they try and mix things up just to feel excited again. But don't reinvent the wheel or try to get creative. The word focus, F-O-C-U-S, stands for follow one course until successful. Make sure the course you're following is proven, productive, and profitable. That's why agents sign up for coaching, whether that's Premier Coaching or My Elite Coaching, our one-on-one clients. But in conclusion, if it's meant to be, it really is up to you. Are you feeling educated, motivated, and ready to be in action? What are the 3 things you'll do as soon as we end this podcast that will lead you to new business for sure? Be consistent in your actions, even and especially when the market isn't doing the work for you, when it's super hot and everybody wants to transact for fun. Cycles are normal. You can't control them, but you can control how you handle your own business. And I'm going to leave them with a quote from Leonardo da Vinci, who was talking about self-mastery, because much of what we talked about today was about that.
So just take a half step back, Jules.
Sure.
With the last thing you just read, I know that a vast majority of agents spend vastly too much of their time on social media trying to intermingle with other agents who are also looking for some sense of direction.
Yes.
And we get pulled into those conversations sometimes when you guys tag us. And the other agents are asking, what should I do now? I just had a closing. Where should I spend my money? All these hapless, directionless agents, those are the ones that are in, 71% of all agents last year didn't sell a single house. Those are the ones that are spending all the time, looking for what they should do next, looking for the next shiny object, not actually, even some of those people, when they're exposed to our podcast, we make it very plain and clear. We're practical and tactical about the coaching we provide. Even when we give them the recipe for success, they join Premier Coaching or whatever, they don't do anything with the information because they don't want to actually rise to the occasion that markets like this offer, and they truly don't want to drill down and do what they don't want to do, and they don't want to do it at the highest level. So I want you to really do a little bit of self-diagnostics, if that's all you do from today's show, and be introspective and be honest with yourself. Are you in this for the long haul? Are you in this business to actually create the best version of yourself as a real estate practitioner? Are you in this to create enough profit from your real estate transactions where you could actually be rich? In other words, you have enough profit, you invest that into other things that create passive income for you. Rich is by our definition is where your money works for you and you no longer have to work for your money. What are you actually in this business for? Are you just in it to basically, get attention, be an Instagram influencer? What game are you trying to win? I'll suggest you try to win the you game, and the you game, the one that you will appreciate the most, is when you are in the future, essentially rich, where you've been successful, not because a bunch of other people recognize you as successful, you have a bunch of Instagram followers, but because you bought the rental properties, because you bought the dividend paying stock, because you've actually been a true leader in your family, in your community, as someone that was actually able to help a lot of, folks buy and sell real estate. Rise to the occasion that markets like this create, because I have mentioned this before, and it's definitely true. The greatest fortunes of men and women are definitely made during the greatest times of change, which is what we're experiencing now. And Julie has a very nerdy quote from Leonardo da Vinci, of course.
Well, on topic to what you just said about investing in yourself. Leonardo said, one can have no smaller or greater mastery than mastery of oneself. You will never have a greater or lesser dominion than that over yourself. The height of your success is gauged by your self-mastery, the depth of your failure by your self-abandonment. Those who cannot establish dominion over themselves will have no dominion over others. That's why this podcast was about getting you into control. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. I'm a doer. I do things now. I get things done. So that's the pod. It's time for you to get things done.
Have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.